bids are in, the gavel is dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, here at WineBid, we are finally hammered. That's right. This is WineBid's podcast dedicated to all things wine value, wine auctions, wine retail, and just wine. My name is Jeff McGurn. I'm here on the WineBid marketing team. With me, as always, is Paul Walker, the professor of Pinot. That's right, our wine expert. And
did you use that one before?
I haven't used that one before.
Oh, okay.
No. And we are going to be talking about our wine auction recap this week, everything that went on the market. Let's jump right into it. Let's talk about the stuff that we saw get a lot of action this week. At the top of the list is the 1999 Charton Calais Brut with 8 bids. 32 people were watching it. 8 bids took it from $50 to $131. That is quite an adjustment for a bottle that was originally priced at $50.
Yep. That's a rare one. It's the old school label. We mentioned this in our picks last week.
We did.
Had like a kind of a lengthy back and forth about, there were 2, right? There was another bottle, Charton Calais. I think it was a vintage. I also think it got a lot of bids. Yeah, it was also 1999.
40 to 79.
But the other bottle, no, they both had 05 enrichment days. So they've both been out for years and years. But yeah, the other one was what was it? It was like I was actually surprised. I thought the other bottle was considered more valuable and lower production. Yeah, because it was this Murphy Brut Cuvée Vieilles Vignes, like an old vine designation, which actually went for less. It started for more.
It started at 60 for 125. Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I thought that was the more valuable of the two, but anyway, pretty cool.
Number 2, which I thought was really interesting, we had this Doe Ferriero.
Yeah, I completely didn't see this wine in the auction. I don't know if maybe it didn't get out of late because it was in, it was just in for 1 week. But this stuff is actually quite rare and it's quite sought after. It's like probably one of the most expensive, Albariños you can find. Especially
now that it's gone from $25 to $45, $46, a bottle.
Yeah.
After 8 bids. So a lot of people after that.
Interestingly, other vintages of this have hit that price. The 18 and the 19, 18 hammered at 46. I just wanted to look up other vintages for the heck of it. And then 19 hammered at 42. They also get really big scores, so could be something along those lines.
We also had the 1996 Masson Loire Charmes. 8 bids took it from $755 to $1405.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Nearly
a lot.
Doubling. I mean, that's a huge movement on the Masson Loire. And the last time we saw that sold was 10 years ago, in July, no less. It sold in 2013 July for $320. Now, if at that time,
here we go,
you had bought,
here we go,
100,000 cases,
Jeff's brilliant wine investment advice
of this wine
for absolutely no one. Jeez. Yeah, I mean, it is interesting though that even the negociant wines have jumped that much. I mean, these are rare examples, so you're not going to be able to find. I mean, you're probably more likely to find 96, Grand Crus from the Domaine as opposed to the negociant label. But either way, they're just far and away so far out there these days.
2010. Actually, well, I'll mention this on the low end. 2010, Ballade Simone Chablis Monti de Tonnerre.
That's still a good deal. It's still a good deal.
Yeah, $23.
Yeah. It's just, well, we talked about how many great half bottles there were in last week's auction. I'm sure a lot of them sold. There were quantities on quite a few of them too. A little further down, there's the Roagna,
Yes.
Barbaresco Paille, which, hammered it quite a bit. I think, the reserve.
51, yeah. Started at 25, hammers at 51. So, I mean, big movement there, right? We've got 2013 Peter Lauer, Eiler Krupp Riesling Fass 18 Grosses Gewachs. We talked about the Peter Lauer wines, especially the Grosses Gewachs last week, and how, there's still a bunch of great deals there. Well, people must have heard that because 7Bids took from 40 to 66. So you're seeing some movement even in, some of these German wines. There's this 05 Pierre Amois Maurice Saint-Denis Eau Charmes. 7Bids took from 45 to 60. So some more good Burgundy. Again, not surprising. We had a lot of great Burgundy last week.
Oh, the Amio?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 05 Amio. It's not a bad price actually. Even at 60, that's not terrible. It's more acidity, but not bad.
I thought it was a little bit funny. We had, so much movement on 2018 Rombauer Chardonnay.
I guess it remains popular.
It remains popular, $30 and ends up going, a bunch of bids take it to 38, which isn't unreasonable, I guess, for Rombauer, although I have to look at Costco to see what it is right now.
Well, it's not cheap. It's not cheap, though.
It's not.
Didn't we talk about a Rombauer, like a red wine that was in? That was
like a
super...
Zinfandel, maybe.
Yeah, or Merlot or something. And it was like $20 or something. And I was like, wow, that's a steal, The red wines are good. I think it was a Rutherford red wine or Rutherford red blend or something. And I think it got bid up.
I actually kind of like their Sauvignon Blanc as well. And I feel like that usually consistently comes in under the under Chardonnay in terms of price.
Yeah, it's definitely cheaper.
It's a lot cheaper. Yeah.
Yeah.
06 Vincent Girardin Puny Montrachet Les Feuillartés. That's what I said.
Feuillartés.
That's what I said. Start at 55, 7Bids, so you get $81. So
still cheap for this vineyard. Obviously, big guy. We've talked about this big negociant producer, but good luck finding Feuillartés from anyone for under $180, especially something that's what is it, 15 years old now?
Yeah, more than that. It's going to be 17 years old. 2012 Blaine Guignard, Batard Montrachet. This one, we had 5. They ended up selling, started 180, ended up selling for 200 a piece. So a little bit of movement there. Bigger movement on this 1995 Bodegas Moro Vendimia Seleccionada Venedos Propios. 6Bids took it from 40 to 72.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's always love seeing we've got some movement on Spanish wines because I feel like they tend to be underappreciated by a lot of people.
Yeah, it's an interesting one too, because generally those wines, when they get bid up like that, it's because of scores. But this one, I don't think it even had a score. I think it's just a rare.
It's just a rare bottle.
Yeah.
I had picked the 01 Bodegas Maro Vino de la Tierra de Castilla y León, but I'm not sure. I'll take a look and see if that got snatched up. We had 6Bids at an 04 Charles Joguet Chinon Claude de la Diotieri, taking it from 40 to 79. So
yeah,
bit of movement.
There were a few of these in last week. I think there was like a mini vertical of the Joguet wines, and they're all gone. They all sold. So not too surprising. That is quite an increase, though. Rare stuff.
Rare stuff. I thought this one was interesting. This from Austria. We had this, and we talked about all the stuff we had coming in from Austria. We had a lot of really cool Austrian wines coming in last week. This 2000 Franz
Hertzberger,
Honeyvogel Gruneweltliner Schmargard. 6Bids from 25 to 61. I mean, that is quite a lot there. I believe we talked about this Gaia 09 Gaia Barbaresco split, and that one, $90 for Gaia Barbaresco, even a split is seems like a great deal. I mean, this Gaia, is still pretty pricey. That went from 90 to 140 a bottle.
Yeah.
And then, there was action on some of the Donhoff. There's a bunch of Donhoff. There was action there on the 2019 Schloss Bochheimer Felsenberg. Riesling Grosses Gewachs. That one went from 40 to 48. And then the 98 John Graveau von Romani, that one 60 is where it started, and 6 bids to get a 76, which I still feel like isn't that bad of a deal for that bottle.
No, definitely not. There was a lot of other kind of one-off examples. I think a lot were from the same seller, actually, kind of in that same range. And most of them got a few bids. They didn't get too many, but they got a few. But it's still not crazily expensive, especially when you consider, what's happening with like Loire and all these other things that are just going through the roof. That Lillian wine, did you see that?
The what?
The Lillian Syrah.
Oh, yes. 2017, we had 3 of them, 6 bids, took them from 45 to 65. 60.
Yeah, it's wild because I think that was the only one in the auction. And often when that wine appears, like this week, I think there's quite a few more. And I think last week, I don't know, maybe there were some others, but it was interesting to see that one get bid up, fairly significantly with 3 bottles available. Cause there's Grenache in this week.
Yeah. Syrah, 2 Syrah, Grenache, another Grenache.
Yeah. Grenache and Syrah. And I'm kind of curious to see if those get just grabbed right away. No, the Grenache actually had already been in auction. So that one kind of confused me. I don't know why everyone seemed to go after the 17 Syrah when there's 18 Grenache available with no bids. So
well, I mean, I think it's because of the price. I mean, you're looking.
Yeah, you're right.
$45
seems pretty cheap compared to the others.
Yeah, when everything else is like 65, 70, $80, $45, like, yeah, it's worth going after at that point, right?
That's true.
Let's move over to some of the heavy hitters, shall we?
Sure, yeah.
Topping us off this week was 2013 Bernard Dugat-P Mazis Chambertin. Mazie Chambertin Villavine. This one, 12 people were tracking it. Somebody picked it up for a cool $3,510. Or rather, it's a 6-bottle lot, shall I say. I think that's an important thing to note. That 6-bottle lot beat out 2010 Domaine Romani Conti Corton, which went for $2,500. Which
on the Dugat-P, that's got to be a record of some kind, because those wines have, they become increasingly valuable, increasingly sought after, but that's pretty cool. It's also, we don't see them often in 6 bottles, 6 bottle sets. So.
I will tell you it's not a record because we sold a 6-bottle lot of the 2013 Dugat-P Mazie Chambertin
you're right.
August of last year for $3,600.
Yeah, so $100 more.
What is interesting is that 2010 Domaine della Romani Conti Corton, that one, the last time we saw that before this auction was in 2019, in November of 2019. It went for $1,250. So it has doubled in price in the last 4 years.
Yeah, it's wild.
We had this 6-bottle lot OWC of 87 Opus 1, which went for $2,430. Yeah. I don't know. That didn't seem too crazy to me, even at that price for 87 Opus 1.
No, it's hard. That's a hard one to find now, especially in 6-pack.
It's about $405 a bottle for 87 Opus.
Yeah, not too bad. That's not too bad when the new vintages are going for close to $400 a piece.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Yeah. New vintages and someone's going to be in his drinking window. Great vintage. 2008 Comte Lafon Montrachet went for $2,300 for one single bottle. And then
there were 3 I remember in last week. Actually, I think there was like a mini vertical of that stuff too.
Well, and by the way, not to harken back to the 87 Opus 1, but a 2016 Opus 1 6-bottle lot OWC went for $2,160. So you're not even paying $300 more. You're paying like $200 and $70 more for the 87 Opus 1. So between the two of those, money being a factor, which would you go for, the 87 or the 16?
87 for sure. It's great wine.
Right.
It's really, really good. Yeah, I've had that a few times, and I don't know. 16 is probably great too. It lasts a long time, but the 87's drinking
Today.
Yeah.
Today, like
Or
crack those
yesterday.
87s open. Yesterday, yeah, crack those 87s open.
Yeah.
They're probably not getting much better at this point. We had by the way, there were two of those lots. We only sold one, so you can still get 2016 six ball lot Opus One OBC. 1970 Domaine Romani Conti Latache went for 2,000, which, interesting to see and I believe we mentioned Latache last week when we did the podcast. I think we did. That's interesting to see that that actually has come down since 2021, because we saw that bottle sell in December of 2021 for $3,100.
Yeah.
So is it a softening of, pricing on Domaine Romani Conti? I don't know about that, but it's certainly interesting to see a softening of price on something like a 70 Latache. And we had two of those that both sold for $2,000. My guess is whoever picked those up probably is following the pricing of Latache pretty closely and realizes that 2,000 may not be such a bad deal for this guys.
Exactly.
The
13 Napa Valley Reserve is kind of interesting. Got a couple bids on it for $325. That stuff keeps kind of going up. It's gone up in price quite a bit actually since last year. I think it was under 300, and now it's pushing 300 every auction. Yeah, it was like 245 not too long ago. Then 285, now 325 for the 13 reserves. So interestingly, not a wine actually I would expect to see increase in price, but anything with ties to Harlan is gonna have that happen. So
it's gonna go up and up and up. The 92 Petrus, this is what I thought was interesting. Last September, the 92 Petrus sold for $2,200. Yesterday, it sold at auction for $1,900. So
that is interesting.
At least more than a 10% decrease in price in less than a year, right? Which I thought was super interesting. I believe you mentioned this 73 Moet Chandon Perignon Enoteque, which we last saw in February of 2004. It sold for $340 then. Well, yesterday it sold for $2,000.
Yeah. Well, that's a super, super, super rare one. And I think we talked about it's disgorged in 99. So good luck replacing that. It's not going to be easy. And, it's a totally different wine than the 73 vintage, which itself is not worth nearly as much as this. But anyway, yeah, it's a rare one.
Did you see the mag or not the mag, was it quintuple mag, the 6 liter of 85 Trentanoy sold for $1,400.
Oh, really? And that was in for a couple of weeks though, right? Yeah.
It was in for, I think I mentioned it like 2 weeks ago or something like that, right?
So that's a super cool bottle.
I also thought it was cool that this bottle of 1847 Shortridge Lawton and Co. limited bowl Madeira sold for $1,630.
Wow.
And I'll probably stop us there unless there's anything else you wanted to mention.
Yeah, a couple things. I think, there was just so much interesting, fascinating, rare stuff last week. We didn't even get to anything domestic at all. And, a lot of these really rare, but also, sort of I don't know. I don't want to say sort of unknown, but just, things like collectible wines, collectible Burgundies in half bottle formats. They're not going to, obviously go for nearly as much as the 750s and things, especially the Premier Crus and second, third tier producers. But there was just a lot of really, really great wine. And then mixed in with that, of course, were some of these big stars. And I noticed there was like 06, was it? Yeah, 06 Denis Morte Chambertin sold at $1,200, which is far and away, again, it's one of these wines where we saw it just, well, no, it's been a long time since it sold. It's been 10 years. I was going to say we've seen other vintages of Morte Chambertin, but still from 380 10 years ago to 1,200, that's quite an increase. It's kind of reminds me of the Loire, but I would not have expected that from Denis Morte. Whereas some of these other ones like Rayos, there was a 97 Rayos we mentioned as one of our picks, started at 1,200, got, sold the same week, and all these other kinds of things. So yeah, it was a great selection of wines last week. So it was fun to see a lot of activity happening.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our podcast today. And it's been Jeff McGurn and Paul Walker wishing you happy bidding, and cheers.
Cheers.